Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Satan's Slave, an Indonesian horror movie from 1980. According to the marketing material, which really talks this movie up, in 1980, Indonesian exploitation studio Rapi Films and writer-director Sisworo Putra unleashed this singular chiller that rocked the religious nation, transformed the country's film industry, and remains one of the most influential shockers in Asian horror history. That's quite a statement. While mourning the death of his mother, a troubled teen discovers a nightmare world of restless spirits, supernatural vengeance, and occult terror, with an intense creepiness that stands the test of time. Ruth Pelupesi and W.D. Mokhtar star in this classic from the golden age of Indonesian horror, whose 2017 Joko Anwar remake became an international festival favorite and one of Indonesia's biggest hits ever. So that's quite a bit of hyperbole in that blurb, and we'll see if it's deserving of that type of hype. So the more detailed plot synopsis is basically the mother, Mawarti, dies from a mysterious illness, leaves behind her work-obsessed businessman husband, her introverted son, and the party girl, extroverted daughter. And then, of course, a sickly but religious servant. But after the death, the son sees his dead mother. But weird things start happening. So, it's a basic, kind of like your basic template for like a supernatural horror film. Back in the day, I did see this movie once. And I thought that it was okay. It was alright. You know what I mean? But, you know how it is with some movies. Maybe that night I was not in the mood for a slow burn horror film. Whatever. Also, I saw it on a DVD that had a garbage transfer. It looked like total crap, which obviously did not help the viewing experience. So, just recently, I watched it again. This time on a pretty pristine Blu-ray transfer, and I enjoyed it quite a bit more than I did the first time. Now, this movie has quite a bit of atmosphere, and the horror elements are pretty strong. There's a creepy scene, for example, where, you have a ghost woman with white eyes, tapping on the window of a kid's bedroom in the middle of the night. There are a few unnerving phone calls as well. One of my favorite scenes in the film, though, is where the daughter is haunted. And I like how the ghost, walked through a wall during that scene. And it was a pretty nice special effect. I think it worked very well. I think it's a highlight in the film. Some of the ghouls are kind of freaky looking due to their monster design. I do feel like calling them monsters because they seem like ghosts at first, but they kind of act like zombies later, which I found to be pretty interesting. Imagery is pretty creative, and some of the scenes are occultish as well. You get people in red cloaks and Satan masks who conduct rituals, stuff like that. So it does have a nice mix and variety of horror elements. The music, very ominous and eerie, which supplements the spookiness. And with all that said, I did detect a hint of black humor at times, like the scene where the kid's friend tells him about the very positive interaction he had with a fortune teller at one point. And then after that, our protagonist's kid goes to a fortune teller himself in anticipation of good news, but instead gets told that he and his family are essentially doomed, and they must resort to black magic to save themselves. So I thought the whole kind of setup there had a little hint of black humor to it. Character interaction is good. We do get a variety of different personalities at play. I enjoy that polarity between the characters. There are some scenes that also date the film for its time. There's a pretty funky disco dance scenes, pretty groovy. And but I did find scenes like this to be interesting from both a cultural and time period standpoint. One aspect, though, that does limit the film's enjoyment to a degree is that the story progression meanders a little bit at times. This is deliberately paced, so understand that before going into it. I would not describe this movie as tightly constructed by any means. So there are some patches of runtime where the plot feels kind of static and it's not really moving that much. and the script writing does not always drive things forward, so you do need a little bit of patience. But in all honesty, I actually think the Joko Anwar remake from 2017 is even better than this original film. It has more surprises and interesting twists, but I do think that this movie has legitimate entertainment value. I like it, and I am going to revisit it again in the future, mostly for its horror elements and kind of atmosphere. There are also some religious subtext to this as well, as you'll see. So if you're a fan of old school atmospheric horror films, I recommend Satan's Slave. If you want to get into the the Indonesian scene from back in the day, there's not a whole lot of these films that are available through legitimate means. So if you're interested in exploring this industry from that era, this is a good film to check out. It's currently available on a Region A Blu-ray from Severn Films. It's widely available right now. And as always, I will see you next time.